My name is Camden Forgy. I'm a product manager within our global connectivity organization, the organization that owns our global network infrastructure. And I'm going to be presenting on this service with my colleague in the engineering side.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Gaurav Mudgal. My pronouns are he and him. I am a senior manager leading Internet Edge Engineering Group within AWS.
Great. So to give you an overview of what we're going to be covering, we're going to first talk about data generation and ingestion and how customers get data up into the cloud. We're going to provide some example use cases of what this service is trying to address. And then we're going to talk about the service. We're going to talk about how it makes it easier, how it's a more flexible solution to allow you to get data up into the cloud. And lastly, we're going to talk about the experience of using the service, how to use the console, how to use the in-person physical experience. And last, we'll touch on the benefits with a couple of customer testimonials, and then close with some call to actions and thank you. So what this service is addressing is how we kind of own, manage, and incorporate data into our workloads in the cloud. I think there are a number of industry analyst reports out there that talk about how important data is to improving efficiencies, to driving incremental revenue, and the value that customers get out of data. But really, how we get that value out of data is through kind of a data cycle. There's an ingestion process, a creation process, and then ingestion. We process the data, store it. There's governance kind of dictating, who can access the data, how data is interacting with one another. And then once you have all this in place, you can derive insights from it and do analysis on the data to understand, what is driving your KPIs, what is important, and ultimately driving actions. And the actions that may come out of that are, we need more data. Let's go off and create or generate some more data, start the cycle over again, and drive value for your organization. And we truly believe that AWS offers the best services to help you do this from end to end, from kind of the creation to ingestion and processing to kind of getting those insights and actions that you want out of the data. But for the purposes of today, we're going to focus on kind of two of the areas that are kind of at the beginning of this data cycle, this kind of data creation and data ingestion. That's the issue and the pain point that we're solving with AWS Data Transfer Terminal. So data is created in a number of ways in a number of different locations. If you think about data that's created within a data center or within the cloud or within an application that exists natively within a data center on the cloud, that data has connectivity likely to the cloud, connections to your on-prem, and the data can seamlessly kind of move across those assets and be able to incorporate it into those stacks and those applications and the models that you're training. But there's kind of a contrast with data that's collected in the physical world. So this is data that may be stored on discrete devices, is generated by sensors that are on a device that's deployed in the field. And there's a pain point there in how do you actually get it into the cloud in a way that is similar to as you would with data that's generated within the cloud or in a data center. Some example use cases that we found in discussing with you and other customers is advanced driver assistance systems. So these are within companies in the automotive industry. They have fleets of vehicles that they deploy into different environments, into different metros to try to collect a diversity of data. And they're collecting terabytes of data per vehicle. And they cannot easily get that data into the cloud. Another example use case that we found in talking with customers is media and entertainment production workloads. They may be off in different metros and different environments, generating content. And again, cameras generate terabytes of data per day. And there may not be an easy way, since they're distant from their on-prem, to get that data up into the cloud. So we want to kind of pose a question to you, like what are some of the use cases that you can think of, or some of the use cases that you are challenged? You may have siloed or fragmented data that exists in different locations. Similar to the other use cases that I mentioned previously, you might generate data in remote locations on discrete devices that are not readily or easily connected to the cloud. And ultimately, this might be impeding your ability to innovate or to develop better experiences for your end users. So I'll hand it to Grav to go over some of the kind of ways that customers currently get data in the cloud.
Yeah, thanks. So we talked about data creation, data ingestion, but what are the ways that exist today through which we are getting the data into your public endpoints, the storage endpoints? And we're going to talk about some of the more popular ones. The most popular ones is via the internet. So you use your corporate office or your locations to use the internet and going through the AWS network into the storage endpoint. That's one possibility. There are other possibilities where certain organizations have peering with AWS network using some internet exchange points. So that's a possibility. Some organizations who are running mission-critical workloads prefer a shortest path to the AWS network to get to the storage endpoints, leverage AWS's Direct Connect as a means to get the data into the cloud. In certain cases where data migration is happening in petabytes and can be done asynchronously, can be stored on AWS Snowball devices and then shipping it over to AWS to be connected to the network and then on to the storage endpoint. So these are some of the more common ways through which currently the data is getting ingested, created wherever in the world, and getting ingested into your storage endpoints. However, we learned from you and other customers as a feedback that there are some concerns around this. While internet in itself is very flexible, available almost from anywhere, it is not the fastest method to upload data. And it is not always reliable, and it could be very unpredictable performance through it. So that is one of the concerns that we learned. In order to overcome, many organizations decided to build specific upload locations where they're leveraging AWS's Direct Connect connectivity or very high throughput connectivity in order to make sure that data is getting into the cloud through the direct access that we talked about. However, this is limited to certain set of locations. So it's not available that if, like we talked about certain use cases collecting data in the field, that data has to come back to these specific locations in order to take advantage. And this is where organizations have to ship their storage appliances, their own, having to go through the logistical constraints of sending it to upload locations. Now, the upload location in themselves are capital intensive. On top of it could be long-term commitments. So it's not necessarily very flexible. And the time, all of this on the, these methods or the existing methods, the challenges they're offering is essentially adding to the inefficiencies in the data upload. So we have data generated for your use cases. It is stored on different set of storage appliances or storage devices on discrete devices. However, when it comes to getting it uploaded, the current existing methods in themselves are slower and are inefficient in certain ways for certain use cases. And therefore, they are hindering the value that you get out of that data in your workflows that exist, which need that data ingested faster. So what we learned from the feedback from yourself and other customers who we partnered with on the service is these were some of the things that were told to us as these are the requirements. The data ingestion process needs to be simple. It needs to be very flexible. It can be uploaded from anywhere at any time. The data storage appliances needs to be in complete control of the organizations and teams. So no shipping or minimal logistical constraints required in order for this data to get into the endpoints, storage endpoints. And above all, it needs to be fast, reliable, secure, and really, ensuring that it gets into the cloud as soon as possible. So when we looked at what is needed, we thought about what are the some of the solutions that can come, and we thought about leveraging our existing global infrastructure, which is spanned across 245 countries, territories, and practically this is present in all metros around the world. It has got terabits of backbone connectivity, redundant available backbone connectivity. This network is connected to more than 5,000 other external networks with terabits of capacity. So we instead of completely coming up with something new, we thought we could use this infrastructure. How is what we are going to talk about. So we already discussed this just a while back, that we could use these methods. They already exist. They work well. But we thought, what if we could allow a secure facility in a co-location and give you the direct access to the AWS border network and allow a period of time through which you can directly upload the data using that network without any intermediary hops. And this is what Data Transfer Terminal is all about. So we are very pleased to announce, we launched this service last night. Data Transfer Terminal is an accelerated bulk data upload service. And in simple terms, this is essentially a secure physical location, which is available, which could be in different parts of the world. It's a physical location, suites that can be reserved as per your need, so they can be on demand. You don't have to have long-term commitments. You book the time that you need. You reserve the suite. You use it for the time, and you bring your own storage device yourself. You don't have to ship it anything. You maintain total control on your storage devices. You bring it into the site, and you directly connect to the AWS network. The devices on the network side, you can directly connect this device and start the upload. And above all, this can allow up to 400 gigabits per second of speed traveling through this network. So this is incredibly fast. Now, this is what, in a sense, Data Transfer Terminal is. But where exactly it is available today? So as of last night when we launched, it is available in 2 cities in the US, in Los Angeles and New York City. We're building these locations as we speak, and very soon it would be available in Atlanta, Dallas, Seattle, San Francisco, and Munich in Europe. There are more locations around the world that we are getting the feedback for, and we are working on getting that ready, which is essentially Chicago in the US, Dublin in Ireland, London in UK, Mumbai in India, Tokyo in Japan, and Sydney in Australia. So these are the locations that are going to become available over a period of time, and where you can leverage Data Transfer Terminal suites to initiate and start the upload. Having talked about, these are the location side, but what's your experience is what Camden is going to walk you through.
So we view the experience of Data Transfer Terminal in a couple of ways. One is there is an AWS Data Transfer Terminal console, and that is where you can go and view the availability of suites, create teams, and I'll go into that in a little more detail in a sec. But then there's also that physical aspect of actually reaching the location, gaining access, connecting your devices, and performing your upload. And Gaurav will touch on that in a little more detail in a minute. But first, I want to provide just a general overview of what the process looks like. What is it? How does it work? So we've already touched on this, that there's this kind of data creation event whether that's, again, a fleet capturing data in the field, medium and production workloads, or any other use case that you can think of that's similar. There is a process that it can occur either prior to that data creation or during that data creation. Again, this highlights kind of the on-demand nature of this service, that a process owner, someone that's familiar with those processes, can kind of get into the AWS Data Transfer Terminal console, create the team, create the reservation around what those requirements are and what that workflow is. So once that reservation is created and confirmed, those details will be communicated both to the data process owner as well as that operator in the field. So that operator will have the information available to them about how to access the facility, where they need to go, and what to expect when they get there. And once they get there, they gain direct access to the data transfer terminal and can then perform the upload using that connectivity. So to give a glance of what the console experience looks like, we have a couple slides here. There's a home page, a landing page that has a wealth of information about the service, what to expect, information about how to onboard. There's also documentation that you can dive into a little deeper about how to perform uploads, how to optimize your uploads. But some of the key aspects of this service are one, creating teams, and another is creating reservations. I'll start with how to create teams. This is an important aspect of this service in a couple of ways. One, it helps you organize your work. So there may be a need to have multiple transfer teams. For instance, if you have multiple productions or multiple workflows, multiple missions off in the field, you can create teams around those use cases and make sure that you're creating reservations that are associated with those individual teams, and can create them as separate and distinct. You can also add personnel. So what it'll help you organize the personnel that will be functioning on each of those teams, but it also provides us information about who, first name and last name, who we will be visiting the terminals, and also provide us email information so that we can communicate all the details, as previously mentioned, to those individuals. Another key aspect of this is as we roll out additional facilities and locations, you'll be able to see where these locations are, be able to either kind of plan missions around where these locations are, or see where you may have a mission coming up that you need to have a data transfer terminal to perform those high throughput uploads. And now on to creating a reservation. You can get into the console, and once you've created a team, you can then view the availability of suites and create a reservation around the availability and around your workflows. So that includes adding individuals to that team who may be visiting the site, identifying the site itself, and then determining the hours that you want to reserve it. So, and then once we've created the reservation, that operator needs to understand, what they need to bring, and that's where I'll hand it off to Gaurav to dive into that a little more.
All right, thanks. So now the reservation is all booked up, facility is all checked in, where we want to go. So what's the most important set of things that you must bring to the data transfer terminal suites? The most, starting with a very simple one, a valid government-issued identification. Because we talked about, we take the details of who is going to show up at the data transfer terminal. For the security reasons, we want to validate that that's the right person who has access to the data transfer terminal suite. The next thing is, not to forget, is the storage appliance itself, which you're going to use to directly upload. In addition to that, we want you to also bring the peripherals required to access that device, some portable monitors, keyboard, mouse, etc. And one very critical piece of compatible optic, which is 100G base LR4 optic. And the reason this specific optic is compatible with the other side of the network, because you're directly connecting to the AWS network straight up. Therefore, you need to bring this optic. Now, you might wonder why, along with the storage, we are bringing the keyboard, the portable monitor, and the mouse, and this optic. Why isn't there? Well, this is considering the security of your own data. We do not want anything touching your storage appliance, your confidential data, anything physical other than the fiber optic cable, which allows you to connect to a router directly into the AWS network. There shouldn't be anything else there coming in contact with your storage appliance. So therefore, we request to bring all these things to the site. Now, we talked about the console experience, but what does the on-site experience looks like? Even before the on-site experience actually starts even before you come to the site. The first and foremost thing that we suggest you to do is visit the Data Transfer Terminal webpage, and there is some information which we'll talk about in more detail. But as soon as your reservation is confirmed, you're going to get an email with the site-specific instructions. And it is important to review. While majority of the sites would have similar experiences, but there are certain nuances: which side of the building to enter from, which reception to go to, how do you get some specific details about the site. So those would be available once the reservation is confirmed and the email that you get. So review those site-specific instructions. The next step is going to be, once you're at that co-location facility, your reservation details, along with your identity would be validated. And once that is done, access would be granted to the Data Transfer Terminal suite. And you will be escorted to that room, which is the Data Transfer Terminal room. Now, what to expect in that room? We have a couple of pictures from our proof of concept. It's a very, very simple setup. This is one of the locations which we were using in the proof of concept. It's very basic. As you could see, all you got is, it could be a big or a small room, but essentially a table and a couple of chairs with the fiber optic cables available for you to connect to the storage appliances. And essentially, you see there is nothing else there. So you bring all that stuff that I talked about, the appliance, the peripherals, and the optics, and you connect it to that cable. And you get started. But how do we get started is the next thing I'm going to talk about. So how do we begin upload? I touched upon it a little earlier about visiting the Data Transfer Terminal page. Through our proof of concepts and other learnings, we have identified what's the best way for you to maximize your throughput for the duration of time that you're there. Because you have access to a really big network pipe, and you have limited time in that suite. So how do you maximize your throughput? So we have curated some pro tips on what are the settings that you could consider on your storage appliance, what are some specific clients that you can install, what are other settings in those clients that could be of use. So once you review that documentation, you would maximize the throughput for the duration of time that you're there. Once that is understood and your appliance is ready with everything else, in this, you connect that storage along with the fiber optic cable that we saw on the previous slide. Using that 100G LR4 optic, you've connected your peripherals to access that storage appliance. Once all that is done, the link would come up. The network device on the other side is enabled with DHCP and DNS, and you will get a couple of public IP addresses allocated for you to then access your storage endpoints using that connectivity. So you get that right away as soon as you connect, and then all you got to do is authenticate towards your storage endpoint, say Amazon S3, and you put in your credentials and you begin your upload. From my own experience, when I escorted some customers in a proof of concept, this entire thing that I talked about took less than somewhere between 2 to 4 minutes. So this is as simple as it gets of connecting, and you get that IP, and you authenticate, and you start the upload. So this is as simple as how it gets on how to use the Data Transfer Terminal. I'll hand it over to Camden to recap what are some of the benefits of using this.
So what we've heard from you and from other customers is that AWS Data Transfer Terminal ultimately leads to faster data upload. So customers are able to access, high throughput connectivity, get their data up in the cloud, and this has a couple of knock-on effects as well. So you can reduce idle time of your resources so they can act on the data quicker. You can get start to incorporate that data into your models, so it can lead to a decreased time to market so that your end user experience is improved in a condensed timeline. But another important benefit is that complete control that we talked about earlier. Customers find this a very valuable and secure way for them to upload this data because they retain custody of their device throughout the process. They don't put it into third-party logistics or shipping. They get to retain that device, and ultimately they get to deploy it back into production after they're done with their upload as well. And lastly, we've heard from you and from other customers that it improves the quality of the data. And there's one specific use case that has come to mind is if a sensor on a device that's in the field collecting data is miscalibrated, if that mission was originally calendared to be a 2-week mission, and that device was collecting data over that 2 weeks, you may find at the end of that 2-week period that all the data that was collected was not of the quality and value that you would like to incorporate into your models. So what this does is, if you can collect the data for a day, come back and upload it, it provides opportunities for the engineering team to kind of validate that data, make sure that it's quality, and tell the operators in the field to go off and collect more data because everything is functioning appropriately and we're getting the data that we need. Well, we want to highlight a couple of customer testimonials just to kind of show, with the customers that we've worked on through the proof of concept, how they envision it delivering value for them. So the first is a quote from the team at Rivian that we've been working with. I won't kind of read through the quote entirety, but to highlight the key points, it allows them to reduce the timeline to get data into the cloud. They like the fact that they get to retain custody of their devices. And as we expand this and add locations globally, they're excited that it will give them an opportunity to go off and collect data in other places and know that they have a way to upload data when they perform those missions. Another customer that we've been working with through the proof of concept phase is Subaru. Again, they like the speed and the security aspect as well, similar to other customers. But one thing that they highlighted, which I thought was very intuitive, was that this is going to change the dynamic and improve the dynamic between their creators that are generating the data and the operators and developers that are actually incorporating the data into their models. They're going to be able to work a little more synchronously as opposed to asynchronously. So some calls to action. We're really excited to be here at re:Invent because it gives us an opportunity for the entire week to talk about AWS Data Transfer Terminal. We have a demo on the expo floor. So if you're at the Venetian, you come to the expo floor, come talk to us. We can show you the demo. There's going to be, Grav and I will be there, but we'll also be other team members that are knowledgeable at the service that can run you through the demo, talk about the service in more general terms, and answer your questions that you may have. We also encourage you to view some of our online assets. We have a web page that has a lot of information about Data Transfer Terminal. We also have documentation on AWS docs that has more technical information. So some of the information that you might find in a user guide that explains how to optimize your workloads or what the upload process might look like within the room. And lastly, reach out to your account team. They're enabled with information as well. They're knowledgeable about the service. And any questions that they might not be able to answer, they can direct you to the service team. And we're happy to engage and share additional information about Data Transfer Terminal. So lastly, just want to thank you for choosing to spend time with us today to talk about this new service. I think there are a lot of ways that this could be developed, and we're excited to see the use cases that customers develop for Data Transfer Terminal, and really excited to discuss it throughout the week. If you can, please take the session survey. It would be really valuable feedback for Grav and I about this service, but you can see our contact information here as well. So if you want to reach out to us with direct questions, we're happy to field those as well. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.